What's up, guys? Gaonan here, and welcome to episode 7 of Drafting to Masters. The last video we released was actually drafting with Masters featuring Magikarp from Team Rankstar, and it was one of the most fun times I've had drafting in this new format. Our deck was really cool, and Magikarp is an awesome guy, so it was a lot of fun getting to know him a little bit better and spending some time with him. In case you missed that video, I've included a link to the playlist for our Drafting with Masters series in the top right corner of this video. Also, if you feel like you're having trouble in this new format and could benefit from some one-on-one personalized coaching, I've put my contact information on the screen now so you can reach out to me to discuss my rates to figure out if it's something you're interested in. Finally, we're getting pretty close to that 300 subscriber milestone, which is pretty awesome. So if you're enjoying the content, I would greatly appreciate you hitting that subscribe button that's in the bottom right corner of this video. I'm really excited to finish off our climb to Masters and hoping we can do it in this draft. So without further ado, let's get into another draft. This is an interesting first pick. There are a lot of good gunslingers here. I don't think Voice of the Speaker is worth picking. Beastcaller's Amulet is interesting. It's a nice tempo play. So I like Beastcaller's Amulet quite a bit. I also like Rakano Outlaw. And I think those are the main two you should be looking at. I think everything else is a power level below that, like First Shot Rider and Heroic Bravo and Dispel. And for me, I'm going to take the Beastcaller's Amulet. I think it's just a really strong ability if you can get the Infiltrate off. There's not a ton of great cards in this pack. I think Slope Sergeant is a decent Yeti payoff. Strength of Many is an okay trick. Entrapment is decent removal. And I think for me, I'm going to pick the Entrapment and see if we can make Argenport work. I'm not that interested in Slope Sergeant until we see some of the other Yetis. The rest of the cards are pretty mediocre, so I'm just going to go with Entrapment here. This is interesting. Dusk Raider getting through makes me think that Primal might be open, but the other two cards that were taken in this pack were the rare and the uncommon, so that might be too bold of an assumption. Other decent cards in here are Copperhall Porter, Entrapment, and I think Dusk Raider is a step above both of those, so I'm going to take the Dusk Raider here and see what else comes our way. But I'm a little nervous because now we've spread ourselves into 3 colors already, but hopefully we get some clarity in the next few picks. Okay, Finest Hour would be decent. Unpredictable Outlaw is reasonable. Back Alley Delinquent is even fine because it can help get tricks out of your opponent's hand. But I think I'm just going to take the Finest Hour here as the strongest card. Nocturnal Creeper is even reasonable as well, but that would be going into a 4th color. So I'm just going to take Finest Hour and see where we go from here. Okay, Victor's Cry is in this format, which is pretty sweet. It's a really strong trick. There's also Dark Return, Copperhall Porter, Granite Acolyte, so some nice choices here. I think I'm going to take the Victor's Cry, and soon enough we'll start picking some units to round out what we have. So here, no units that are really worth picking. I'm just going to take the Fixing and Argenport banner. It seems like we're definitely going to be in Justice, but we're not too sure about Shadow or, if we're even going to be in a 3rd color either. So I'm going to take the banner here. It's the 3rd Repulsive Gorger we've seen so far. I don't think this card is worth playing. Honestly, don't like many of these cards. Cerso's Meddling is an okay removal spell, but I think I'm just going to take the Civic Peacekeeper here to get our first Justice body because we'll likely play the card. Now we get Yeti Snowslinger, Levitate, which helps get our Beastcaller's Amulet in, so I like both of those quite a bit. And I think I'm going to take the Yeti Snowslinger here, get some bodies going rather than the Levitate in this situation. I like Scaly Gruon. It does a good job of holding the ground. I think Trusty Revolver is pretty good in this format with the amount of renown that you can see in packs 2 and 3. So I think I'm going to take the Trusty Revolver here as a potential splash. We'll take another Yeti Snowslinger, no issues there for me. I like this card quite a bit, and there's plenty of things that those snowballs hit that are high impact. I guess this time we'll take Miner's Canary, but we're probably not playing this card, but it does have some synergy with Beastcaller's Amulet, even if it does slow you down a turn. And Barbarian Camp. The strongest card is probably Conflagrate here, but that would require us going into a fourth color. I kind of like just taking Coastal Huntsman here or Curator Spear, but most likely Huntsman since it seems like Justice is going to be one of our main colors and Shadow is going to be a splash. And I don't know if Curator Spear is worth splashing, so I think I'm just going to take Huntsman here for another decent 2-drop. Warlock's Brew is good removal. Otherwise, there's a bunch of fire cards here that are pretty decent, but I'm just going to take the Warlock's Brew for some okay removal. But I'm a little nervous about where this draft is going because it seems to be all over the place. Secret Passage is a really nice finisher. Defiance is some pretty good removal. But I think I'm going to take the Secret Passage for the finishing power it can bring, and when we're trying to infiltrate stuff like this Beastcaller's Amulet or these Yeti Snowslingers, I think Secret Passage is pretty invaluable. So I'm going to pick that here over the Defiance. Maybe we end up in Feln rather than Argentport or Huru. Heirloom Seeker is pretty nice. Bannerman, I think, is always a solid choice just because there's not as much fixing in this format. So I kind of like taking that here, even though Heirloom Seeker does synergize pretty well with Secret Passage. So maybe we should just take the Heirloom Seeker here. Yeah, let's take the Heirloom Seeker. I think it's strong enough to warrant taking. And if we see some Lethrai hideaways or something like that, we'll be in some pretty good shape. Speak of the Devil, Lethrai Hideaway shows up, so I like taking that here. I think it's better than everything else for us and has good synergy with Heirloom Seeker. Would we splash for any of our Justice cards? Maybe Entrapment, maybe Finest Hour, but I'm wondering if you just take the removal of Eye for an Eye here. Yeah, the second clause might never come true, but it's still basically Death Strike, just at slow speed for one additional cost. So I don't think it's a terrible card, but you're not often going to get the 2-for-1 that you're hoping for with this card. So I think it's either that, Token of Vision. Pretty interesting that there's a Beach Boy here this late, but we're pretty far away from time, so I don't have too much interest taking that. So I think for me, I'm just going to take the removal and see what else we can get. Frost Talisman seems very good in our deck. It helps get our infiltrates in, it synergizes with Heirloom Seeker, so I think this is a slam dunk for our deck. If this wasn't here, I'd be taking Improvise Club. Courtier is an option. We already have 3 relics, so maybe it's worth splashing for Courtier here. Our other option is probably Mischief Yeti. And I'm not super excited about Mischief Yeti. We could use Trusty Revolver to renown it though, so that's not terrible. And I think I'm just going to be pretty cautious here and just take the Mischief Yeti because we're almost at the end of Pack 2 and we don't have a lot of units if we don't have Justice. So I think I'm going to take the Mischief Yeti here. You know, it's too risky to take a card that we might not play because we don't know if we're going to get the fixing for it. So I'm going to take Mischief Yeti. Honeypot seems like a reasonable splash, but it'll never deal a bunch of damage for us, but I'll still take it here. A second Secret Passage. I don't know if you want 2 of these in your deck. Maybe it's fine. You also have Courtier coming through again and Sirocco Glider, which does synergize well with our relics. I'm almost thinking I should just take the Sirocco Glider here because it just synergizes well with our deck. So I think I'm going to do that here. And we'll take the token for fixing and Pack Beast. I don't think Mournful Deathcap makes a whole lot of sense. Lethrai Intimidator is an elf, and it's in our main colors, so I think it's probably worth taking over the Infused Guardian as a potential splash, so let's take the Intimidator here. Another Warlock's Brew. We also have Bannerman. I think this time I'm going to take Bannerman just because some additional fixing is always welcome, and we need a lot of units at this point, so Bannerman makes sense here. Another Intimidator here. We could also take Cartographer. Both of them are elves, so that's good synergy with what we've got going on so far. So I think I'm going to pick up the Cartographer this time. We do have quite a few twos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potentially. So this would make 8. But if we're playing like a tempo-oriented deck, I think it might be good to have more 2-drops than we normally would. Curated Steward is just a great 2-drop, really high impact. Really nice if this gets Berserk off Dusk Raider, so we're definitely going to take that here. A second Curated Steward. All of what I said before applies now too, so I will take a second one. So we could take a second Cartographer, we could take Token for fixing. I don't know if we need the fixing that bad, so I'm just going to take another Cartographer here rather than the fixing. Be Gone is a potential tempo play for us, but I think I'm just going to take the fixing with Token of Knowledge here. I don't think I would really splash for Be Gone. I think we can take another Intimidator over the Improvised Club and the Iron Hook. This time we can take Mob Rule. Basically just have to think about this card as a fast Suffocate, which is not the worst thing in the world. Curator's Spear seems good for us now that we know we're in Shadow, so we'll definitely take that here. Keeps our tempo moving forward. I don't think we'll play either of these cards, but we'll take the Cabal Scavenger and Meltdown. Alright, so we still need units pretty bad. Sadly, I don't think there are any worth picking up here for us. We're not going to splash for Twin Brood Sauropod, so I'm just going to take the Extinguish for another piece of removal that helps us keep attacking. Our other option is Ice Bow, which does have some synergies in our deck, but I think it's going to be better to just have a piece of removal. So here we get the Ice Bow. We could also Dragon Breath, but I think Ice Bow makes a lot of sense given Curated Stewards and just helps us keep moving forward on the board. A second Dusk Raider, that's awesome. There's also Feln Banner and Seek Power, but we just need more bodies, and Dusk Raider is a highly valued 2-drop, so we're definitely a super aggressive deck right now, tempo-oriented, so we'll take another Dusk Raider. Yeti Windflyer is pretty good. We don't have a ton of Yetis though. Other option is Extinguish. I think we just need the units really bad, and Yeti Windflyer is a pretty premium one. If we could pick up a couple more Yetis here. Even if we don't, we just need some way to continue chipping in damage if we get stalled on the ground. Normally I don't like Blood Beetle, but I think it makes sense for our aggressive deck, so I'm going to take it here over something like Back Alley Delinquent or Iceberg Hail Shrieker. I don't think taking Hail Shrieker makes a whole lot of sense just because we need more Yetis, so yeah, Blood Beetle it is. Cabal Recruiter is decent, Yeti Spy is okay, Levitate isn't bad either. I think Levitate is probably like the most tempo-oriented card and can help us get our Beast Caller's Amulet in. Or if we've been pumping an elf, like that's another way to finish a game if we don't have Secret Passage or something like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to go Levitate here. In a tempo-oriented deck, I think Levitate is a very strong card. Haunting Scream. Yeah, we'll take that. Usually don't value this card very highly, but given what we have and what our deck is trying to do, I think it makes a lot of sense. Better for us than the Feln Banner. Piercing Grief could be okay. There's also the option for Slope Sergeant. I don't know how good Piercing Grief would be. I mean, it can just get stonewalled. I think I want the Slope Sergeant here. I think it's going to be better for us than the Piercing Grief, but This is a pretty tough pick at the end because we want more Yetis for Yeti Windflyer, and this gives us some card selection later into the game when we're trying to find our ways to close out a game. And Piercing Grief is just kind of a burn spell. Really good if we have Secret Passage, but I'm going to go for the Slope Sergeant here. Another Blood Beetle. We could also do Substitute or Elysian Banner here. I think I'm going to take a second Blood Beetle. We'll take the Memory Keeper as something that has the potential to trade up with our opponent's units rather than the Sorrow Shroud. I don't think this is a very high impact weapon in an aggressive deck. Take the Enraged Arachnodon, but probably won't play it. And Triggerman. So this is a pretty interesting deck. I thought there was likely a Feln Tempo deck out there. I don't know if this is going to be the best version of it, but I'm definitely interested to see what this deck can do. I don't know if we'd even need to splash for Sirocco Glider, but we'll see. First we'll take out the power and we'll kind of go from there. I like all our attachments and probably don't need eye for an eye, but I think everything else makes a lot of sense. If there was an attachment that didn't make sense, it's probably Trusty Revolver. Alright, so what if we take out Glider? Do we have other gunslingers? Not really. So Triggerman I don't think is doing a lot for us. And then we've got some interesting choices to make. This is a super low to the ground deck. Curve really tops at 4, so we probably only need maybe 16 power. So that means we would just need one more cut if we were going to do 16 power. And I think we can take out one unit. I think the weakest unit is either Memory Keeper or Huntsman. And given the volume of 2-drops that we have, I think I'm just going to take out Huntsman here and keep the Memory Keeper. So this would be 16 power. I think that's probably right. So let's get our power add to our deck. Yep, so we just have the token and we'll add the rest of the power. So this makes for 10 Shadow and 9 Primal, which makes sense given our split. Do we have any double influence cards? Double Primal for Slope Sergeant. Everything else is single. So I think this is our deck. Just want to close out this drafting and deck building portion of episode 7 by saying thank you for being here. I appreciate you enjoying my content. If you are enjoying it, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's a button in the bottom right corner of the video for you to click so you can get subscribed easily. I really do appreciate the support. And what'll happen next is we'll go into the games video where we'll first talk about the deck a little bit, and then we'll actually play some games to see how it does. So I hope to see you in my next video.